So if we flip this around and think about the prospect now, and think about how the prospect feels when they meet a non-salesperson who's untrained and doesn't know how to handle them, what happens?
I think in most instances when a prospect comes to see a professional, they are seeking a sense of leadership, really. They're looking for a guide. I like to use the hiking analogy, that if you go on a hiking trip with a group to a trail that you don't know, you hire a guide to take you from where you meet to where you want to end up, and then take you safely back to where you started. And I think that most relationships between prospects and professionals, there needs to be some kind of leadership. There has to be somebody in charge. And if the consultant or if the professional doesn't take on that role, then the prospect has no choice other than to take it upon themselves to be the leader. And that's precisely what is probably not going to help you. Like a guide on a hiking trip, you want to be able to trust that leader to be able to take you to places where you don't have knowledge of where to go. And immediately, once that situation is established, once that dynamic is established, you become a lot more open to guidance, and open to recommendations, and open to questioning. I think that's the kind of leadership that people, as professionals, sometimes they lack, because they often they leave the clients to kind of make up their own minds a little bit, or in the interest of choice, give them too many options. Whereas I think professionals need to take control of their interactions, and not necessarily command people to do things, because that's the old way, but more open the clients up, try to understand more about what they're looking for, listen to them, empathize, and in so doing then earn the right to be able to recommend something, and have that recommendation be taken more openly, because the prospect believes that you do understand who they are and what they want and what concerns them. And when that's accomplished, then you have better relationships being formed, and more agreement. And not only in the sales situation where you're trying to get somebody to agree to something that you're offering, but also in the service relationship where the client needs to be clear on what the expectations are, and that you're not perfect, and that you're able to to give them a realistic perspective on what's available and what to concern themselves about. So when you open up the channels of communication, everything just tends to work a lot better. I've often found that despite one's level of service, the aims that one has in order to do the very best you can, you're always going to make mistakes. And I find that clients who've gone through this process, having been listened to, having had trust in the person that's working with them, they're much more tolerant of the mistakes that you make. And when that happens, little mistakes don't blow up into big grievances. And when that's contained, your relationships continue for much longer than they otherwise might have continued, and your word of mouth improves, because they're despite you not being perfect, they're happy with you. They trust you, and they're more than happy to communicate to their friends and family when somebody like you is required, when somebody like you is needed. They're happy to recommend you.